episode number 38 with Daren Wooten. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And how you doing today, Mike?
Hey, pretty good. I won a tournament last night.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I mean, small online tournament, but it occurred to me today that this has happened a few times here. I should always put in a nice volume pre-recording a podcast because it seems like I always run good.
Yeah. The last 2 days, you watched me at a final table. I think I got 6. It's either 5th or 6th. I think it was 6th. And then last night I watched you, and you shipped one. That was cool. Yeah,
it was cool. I mean, as you saw, I flopped 2 pair, like 5 straight hands. That helps.
Yeah, that does help a lot. You got all in with the guy with 9 big blinds. I think you had almost 60. With King 5, you shoved the button. He snap called with aces, and you flopped King 5. So that's also nice.
I had like 310,000 chips. He had 23,000. So yeah.
That hand played itself, but
didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But that was good. Like I said, that was a classic classic Mike victory with shit ton of luck, but also my aggression was paying. By the time we got 5-handed, I had the other 4 covered, I think, in chips if I remember correctly.
I think you did. I think one guy had like 50, another guy had 67, and then the short stack had like 29, and you had like 250 or something ridiculous. It was just you just had them all crushed. It was they were basically playing ICM, and you were just raising almost every hand.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, every time. Like I said, I'm always paranoid talking about how it's just been run good. I haven't played enough poker to really know my skills here, and every time I'm kind of waiting for variance to get ugly, I win a tournament. So that's good.
Yeah.
Though I have gone through a bad stretch in Bovada I think I've cashed like one of the last 35 tournaments or something ridiculous. But
oh wow, yeah.
But I still got some money on there, so
Yeah, this month has been a little rough for me. Last month I made $1,500. I think my hourly was like $36 an hour or something. And this month I haven't tallied it yet. I'm a little scared. But with that 6th place, that basically made the day a winning session, not by much. But 2 Sundays I've just straight bageled. I think I got like a third and a turbo on demand or something, but everything else just nothing. And yeah, definitely. But what was weird is I feel like I'm playing really well. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about what variance is like, and they said, you just got to analyze your game, have a coach look over your hands, and if you're playing well, then just keep going at it and realize that's gonna turn around. But it's tough not to look at your results and think that that's a reflection of how you're playing, because you can play really well and still not right. Not have any cash to show for it. But
yeah, I mean, so are you gonna put that 17-bedroom Colombian mansion you're gonna buy? Are you gonna wait till you ship another $2,000 on Bovada?
Yeah, I was thinking about that afterwards.
Just trying to help you out, you delusional bastard.
I know. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and a lot, maybe a dozen, and I haven't had one yet say that's a great idea. You know what? I will say this, except for Mark. He said, you know what, dude? That's awesome. You should do it. The other 11 have said that I'm crazy.
Well, you only gotta live once, and you've got such a nice life role built up here that you're not going to be, even if you just take a 6-month ass whooping, it's not like you're teetering on the edge.
Yeah,
like you saw me. I came out here thinking I had a lot of money, and it only took about 7 days before I realized I was standing on the precipice of disaster. Of course, not a lot of people can piss away $15,000 in 5-5 cash game in 7 days, but I have that aptitude. Speaking of pissing money away, I'm now having, I'm usually so jazzed for live poker, and I guess I am, but, I set up a schedule to get back and play a bunch of tournaments this month
Uh-huh.
over the next 30 days. And now I'm not sure, like there's the $3,700 one in there.
Is that one tournament or is that a series?
That's one tournament. That's a WPT event coming up at, I forget, I think it's at the bike.
Are you backed or?
No, I got no backing. I think I mentioned that. I was going to, my Russian group there said they weren't buying any pieces of anyone right now.
Okay.
So I assumed I'd always be able to, and then I'm like too lazy, or I just took that as a sign. Like I'm like, okay, I'll just go on my own dollar, but like the clock is ticking here. But I probably should have gone on 2+2 and sold a little bit off. But now I'm like, that's a lot of money, and especially because it's these rebuys. If I don't want to fire 2 bullets into it, which I think is a stupid idea. It's just tough with these rebuys, which are pro heavy, because they'll sniff it out if they sense that you're not ready to put it all in there.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know, but I'm playing some lower buy-ins. I think on Wednesday there's a $500 buy-in at the Commerce for a 50K. There's a one-day tournament, so start off with a $500 buy-in, 50K one-day tournament.
Okay. And what are the levels, like half an hour? Or?
I'm sure it's pretty fast. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking here. That's a. Well, no, I don't even have it in front of me. But anyways, there's a bunch of like 1Ks. But there's only 6 tournaments I'm looking at, but no, 7 tournaments, but all of them are ones you can fire multiple bullets in. Several of them have like two starting day ones. So basically, technically, when I was going to look for backing, I had $18,000 in buy-ins set aside.
Okay.
So I probably won't do that much. I'm not going to fire multiple bullets in every tournament, but anyways, it could be an ugly month, is what I'm saying. Where if I just, sat on Bovada and America's Card Room, it's, a bad month is probably me losing $2,000.
Yeah.
But yeah. A great month is me winning $15K. Where here, you never know. I could have a nice score this month. So this is always a difficult call. You shouldn't be doing this many buy-ins of live tournaments without a bigger bankroll than what I have. But you know how I roll, Steve. So
I do.
But anyways, I'll have some live hands to discuss over the next few weeks, probably.
Well, what are the buy-ins that, not counting the main event, is it like 500 and below, or is there a couple of 1Ks in there? Or?
Yeah, I think there's a couple 1Ks. There's a $1,500 one. I'm sorry, $1,650 at the Commerce. There's a $1,100 at the Commerce. And there's also an $1,100 at the bike plus the $3,700 at the bike. And then there's 2 $500 tournaments. So 2 500s, a 1,500, 2 1Ks, a 3,700, it looks like. So if I only fired 1 bullet into each of them, it's more like, 7K in buy-ins, which isn't ridiculous. But
well, that's kind of doable.
Maybe I should just skip the 3,700 and then just be willing to fire bullets. Because some of these have big guarantees. I'm looking at it. 100K guarantee, 200K guarantee, 500K guarantee, 200K guarantee, and a 500K guarantee. These are all for the 501Ks. I don't know. I'm like I said, I feel like I'm destined to have my first 6-figure score sometime pretty soon. And if I want to do that, you got to play in WPT championship events, or I don't even know what this is, quite frankly.
You could, what if you just fired 1 bullet in each of them except for the 500s? And then if you get a nice score like you had at the WSOP, then you could go in the main event.
Yeah, I think there's so much value in those 1Ks, though, that I think definitely can justify firing another 1K. If you're looking for value, if I want to break this down in terms of value, I'd rather be able to fire 2 bullets into all these and just skip the 3,700.
Okay. If
I was just going to break this down by hourly and whatever, I think that would be the optimal play. But if I have a bad month and lose 10,000, then I just no live poker for 3 months. I Uber and grind at night, and I'll survive.
Okay. Well, I guess worst case scenario, it's not that bad.
Speaking of surviving, have you ever been in an emergency room breathing your last breath when some doctor saves your life?
I have not had that experience.
That's a poor segue, but we have someone here who can do that.
Oh, that's where we're going. Yes. Daren, yes.
Dr. Daren.
Dr. Daren. Yes, he should be interesting. He's a listener, and he sent you a hand history a week or two ago.
Right.
And anyways, you forwarded that to me, and we were able to pull it up on Hold a Manager and go through it last night. And I think we found some interesting spots that can help him out a lot.
I got a sense this is a future poker superstar too, by the way.
I think so too.
Just the way he talks is like, I was on he's a doctor. He's also like a successful farmer. Somebody who's probably like has that obsessive, who's highly intelligent and has the obsessive quality, which is probably the two things you need most for poker.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming his time is somewhat constrained here, and I hope he's not going to give up a doctor job, stop being a doctor to fucking hang out in Colombia with you, guzzling Coronas and trying to get your hourly up to $11 an hour. But he seems more sensible than that. But I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious about the farming. What was it? Corn, peanuts, and something else. Like, I don't even know what are peanuts grown like in the ground, or how do they?
No, the peanut fairy comes and drops them off, Steve.
That's what I figured it was. It was that or a stork.
Yeah, no, they're groundlings, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious about that. It sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. He and I are kind of in the same line of work, I guess. I pick up the people, drop them off to him, and he takes care of them after that.
Right. Although his took years of medical study.
Yes.
and for you, it's just they bring in a bunch of monkeys and see who can climb the ladder fastest. That's about the extent of it, right?
That's pretty close, yeah. Pretty close. A couple of community college classes, and here, throw this ladder. You're good to go.
I'm sure there's more to that, more to doing it than that, Steve. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, a listener of the show too. So that's always nice to have someone who can come on and of course, he might come on and talk about how we've retarded his progress. And guys, I'm done with you, but thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, but no thanks.
I was thinking too. Here's the other. First of all, we had a few weeks ago. We had an offer from Doug to do a hand history review, a study group online, and you and I really need to start doing that.
We do.
Because regardless of how many players we talk about, unless you're like good players we talk about and good study habits, blah blah, if you're not actually doing that shit. Like it's like I don't know if you've been staying on top of the TPE. I just watched the last video series where Mark Aliotto analyzes a hand history from Derek Killingbird.
I'm on the second video of that one. Yeah, I just finished the second
and
video.
And it's like I feel like I'm playing a lot of poker. I'm talking to pros and and I'm like, fuck, I've fallen behind again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's all like the new software he's using.
Yep.
And talking about how limping is now, because I was watching a video where like JhJc was limping quite a bit. I'm like, what the fuck? Where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah, what's he doing? Yeah,
I thought I was hoping he was just high or drunk or something and doing something different. I'm like, okay, I can ignore this nonsense. You don't limp from middle position with pocket sevens ever.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it's kind of funny. It's like, what the fuck, man? I just had a big summer. Now I gotta go back to work here. You know what I mean? So. And just talking to Darius, I mean, he's friends with some of the best no limit hold'em tournament players in the world.
Yeah.
So you and I are still, it's kind of funny, even though we're talking to lots of people, we're still kind of living on Poker Island out here with without a lot of communication with the outside poker world, I feel, which is kind of paradoxical, but that's kind of how I've been thinking about it this past week. Where it's, you want to interact with other pros, to talk about one hand is nice and it's useful information. But anyways, that's who. Again, Steve, you're in charge of that too.
Okay.
you got to find us some people here. No, I don't know. But anyways, that's.
Yeah, I think you're right though.
Doug certainly, but I don't think Darius is an online grinder, and Carlos, of course, would be great. And Carlos even does that in his Twitch stream. Not just he really gives you a lot of good stuff there, Carlos. I got to say, if you've been watching his Twitch.
Yeah.
Because he'll stop, and like he stopped the other day and started taking all his graphs out, showing his sit and go results. And again, this goes back to our conversation about variance, and he showed over a stretch of 13,000 sit and goes where he lost like 4,000, but if his EV was plus 18,000, like if he ran as he was supposed to run. I mean, wow. you got to just be losing 60% of flips over that, like that many hands or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't break it down, but But he has
Wow.
that, and he also does hand history reviews. He'll go through old hands, and that's the great thing about Bovada. Of course, naturally, I still have not fucking figured this out, how to look up old hand history reviews, and that's why I had to send the hands to you to put it into Poker Tracker or whatever you use, because I couldn't even figure out how to look at Daren's hands. But yeah. Anyways, I guess my point was Carlos would be great if we can twist his arm into the study group.
Yeah. I think we should start with Doug. We'll get Doug. We'll do a review with him, and maybe we can. You weren't using HUD on that last tournament you won, huh?
No, I'm still HUDless here. But like I said, I actually can get the poker indicator back up there. They sent me the code. I just haven't done it yet, so there's no reason not to do that. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. What was I had one other thing regarding our growth as poker players. I forgot. Well, Mark was talking a lot about that software too. I mean, doesn't that make your head spin a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. I need to get one of those, either Flopzilla or ICMizer. I think that would be good. I did get a chart yesterday. It's a Nash calling chart. Have you ever used one of those?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got one of those yesterday.
And, I looked. I mean, I haven't used it I remember looking at the numbers 3 years ago and convincing myself I got the gist of it.
Okay.
Which is not the same thing as using it, quotation marks.
Yeah. I've got the push-fold chart that I've been using for a year, and that thing is awesome. But as far as the calling ranges, like how many big blinds for what hand you got, whether it's suited or not, I've got that, and I'm gonna print that out and start using it.
I might finally be twitching here soon for those people who. Carlos says he's going to get on the computer with me tomorrow and help me set it up.
Nice.
Because that's just beyond over my head here, as we know.
Good.
I was going to kill time by asking you questions about the presidential race here, Steve. So, let's try to get Daren. Let's try to get Daren on the line, for God's sakes. Before
that might be kind of interesting. Who are you hoping for?
I'm a socialist, Steve, but the Trump thing is kind of intriguing me now.
Me too.
It's funny. My brother's like raging liberal. I'm actually like ex-reactionary who, because of my union ties, I slowly keep moving farther to the left. I actually gave $20 to Bernie Sanders.
Which one was that? Bernie
Sanders is the guy who's challenging Hillary Clinton. He's the Vermont. He's actually, he's a socialist.
Okay.
But, I got a lot of problem with this, but he's the one who's like unequivocally was against the Iraq War from the beginning, which I hold as a sign of not political wisdom, but sanity. So not to insult people out there, but anyways. But now it's kind of funny. Even my brother, who's like a major liberal, and there's one buddy from college, are like, man, this Trump thing is just, he's spitting it real here. He's keeping,
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's interesting. My one buddy's really going into the psychology. He's like, could this really happen? And he's like, the one interesting thing is not poker players, the politicians are like required to have a certain to carry themselves in a certain way. This is very serious. Like, they're very grave. Like, some commentators, like Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton, looks like they're hostages at some sort of, in some sort of cave. You can't smile or show any joy. Where Trump's having just a grand old time running around doing all this shit. You know what I mean? So
he is. It seems like he just has this attitude of he just does not care. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. If I don't get this, then I'll just go back to being a real estate mogul billionaire, and I really could give two shits.
Right. If he gets the Republican, I'm definitely rooting for get the Republican nomination. Not only because everyone else is so lame, but just because I'm a political junkie, so just for entertainment purposes, yeah. Mm-hmm. The Trump thing is fascinating. Although I'll probably end up. We'll see who. A lot of people think. A lot of analysts are saying Hillary has just got so many problems. She'll probably might start drifting off, and then a few other people will jump into the race. I like Jerry Brown in California too. He's a
yeah.
But I'm sure you're a low taxes kind of guy. I mean, I am. If I ever win millions of dollars, I'll immediately just stuff it all in a duffel bag and move to Mexico. So I'm not, I'm a socialist when it doesn't involve taking my money. But
yeah. I have to. I've got a torn between that as well because we got the union at work just like you were with the post office, and But then on the other side of the coin too, there's a lot of parts of the Republican Party that I like as well.
And there's just a bunch of lazy, stupid people in this country need a big, boot in the ass there, which the Democrats don't do. Give them, but yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I not to get into the war to me was such a catastrophe that like I need someone who's like says that explicitly. Although Trump was now kind of taking that stance too, because I was like, I want to hear him say something on foreign policy, just at least a little reluctant to use. Because the first thing I heard him say, he was talking about the Iran deal. He's like, people will do what I tell them to do. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we don't need this. I've seen enough of this macho nonsense for 100 lifetimes. I want to see some reluctance to put American servicemen all over the globe. But
yeah.
Anyways, just in case poker's outlined, Steve, I was curious also if you and I could carry a political podcast. And the answer, of course, we know is no. But
yeah, that's a resounding no, I think. But we could do our damnedest.
The other but you don't know, Steve. Now all of a sudden, our people who listen to this the regulars might be, Brian and Tony might be like, Mike, talk more about socialism. Screw the poker. I don't think that's real likely, but
I doubt it. Well, should we give Daren a call?
Can we wait till Donald Trump kicks your wife out of the country?
Okay.
No, just kidding. Yeah, let's give Daren a call.
All right, let's do
it. Hello?
Daren, it's Steve. How you doing?
Hey, Steve. How are you doing? I'm doing good.
Good.
Daren, it's Mike. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate y'all inviting me to come on with y'all.
Yeah, thanks for being ahead.
That's a heavy New York accent you got, man. I think it's from another part of the country. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You were having some internet problems in Georgia. I'm guessing that's got to be like rural Georgia. They don't have those problems in Atlanta, do they?
No. I'm in super rural Georgia. It's like 30 miles to the nearest town. It's an hour to the nearest town with a mall in it.
Wow. Okay.
But it's in the absolute middle of nowhere.
It sounds like where my parents live up in Idaho. They're out in the sticks, and it's about half an hour to get a gallon of milk there, and then another half an hour back. Is that pretty accurate? Or?
Yeah, that's exactly how it is here.
Okay.
Like our kids go to school, and it's about a half-hour drive there, and that's where the Walmart is, which is basically the only store.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, this is where I grew up at.
This is Dr. Daren, by the way. Where'd you?
Yeah.
So you went to medical school. I'm assuming you could have probably gone to live a lot of different places, but you were.
Yeah, I mean, with emergency, my specialty is in emergency medicine, so yeah, anywhere in the country, it's such an open field that I can move anywhere. But my daughter was living here already, and this is what I know and what I'm used to, so I wanted to come back here.
Okay. How old are you? How old are your kids?
I'm 34. I have my kids range from quite a range here. I have my oldest daughter is 16, and then I have two little ones that are like 4 and 18 months.
Okay, cool.
And you're also a farmer. So, like, the first thing, we won't even get to the poker yet. It's like, how the hell does this guy have time to learn poker? But you're also a farmer, right?
Yeah, that's what I grew up doing, and that's what all my family does as well. None of my other family went to anywhere past high school, and that's kind of what everyone in my community does, and, that's what I grew up doing and knowing, so. I kind of went off in a different direction, once, when I was in high school in my senior year, actually my girlfriend at the time got pregnant with my oldest daughter, and they kind of sent me in a different direction, a different path to go pursue something a little more lucrative.
Okay. Is your dad a peanut farmer? Is that how he makes a living?
Yeah,
or?
They farm. That's what my brother does now. He works with my dad, and they all work on a farm.
And
that's kind of, what I want to do as a side, because it's just so different than the emergency medicine aspect of my life, and it kind of gives me an outlet from that.
So you own the farm? Your dad owns the land?
Yeah. Well, he has his own, and then whenever I got out of residency, I financed and bought some of my own land as well.
Okay. Now you do corn, cotton, and peanuts?
Yes, sir.
And what? Every time I've eaten a peanut, I've always wondered what the plant looks like, and I could probably find out in 4 seconds by Googling it. But does it grow in the ground, or what?
It does. It's actually like a very low bush. The bush rises only about a foot high, but all the peanuts are actually underground, so it's
like
part of the root crop.
Mm-hmm. Ah,
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I guess they're roasted, right? Once you bring them out, do you have to send them off to a plant and then they get roasted and that's how you eat them, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's generally what you do. They have a machine that comes through and digs them up, and they have a separate machine after about 3 days of drying that comes and picks them. And when you pick them, they're in the actual holes themselves, and so you send them to like a processing plant, and they sell them to a sheller, and they shell them and sell them to like the candy companies or peanut butter companies and all that.
Okay. Huh.
Can you still?
Right.
I guess you can still make a living as kind of a family farmer down there. I mean, like the agribusiness has like pretty much just closed farms in a million different places. The family farm has just kind of died in the Midwest, is my understanding of it. To some
that's
extent,
my understanding as well. You still can, it's the family farm is getting bigger and bigger from what it used to be as well. So you have to tend more and more acres and take on more and more risk. And that's the problem with it as a whole. It's just so much risk for such little reward. Like, for example, my dad and my brother, they tend about 2,500 acres of land, and they'll take out a loan for $2.5 to $3 million for their operating expense.
Wow.
And, out of that, they hope to make back $100,000 on a good year.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's just such a huge risk that you're risking everything that you've ever earned and ever worked for your whole life every year to hope to make back some, an okay living.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean obviously the agribusiness, it's just a tax write-off if for a bad crop in whatever part of the country for their massive business, right? I mean,
yeah.
Wow. So oh my God, that is insane. You have one beetle or bug that comes through and you're done, right? I mean.
Yeah, exactly. If a big drought, a big flood, and I mean the insurance kind of helps you. There's insurance on it that kind of can help you get it over till the next year, but it's still it's such a huge game. I mean, poker's nothing of a gamble in comparison to that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Huh. I had no idea. How many acres is your farm?
My total farm is about 600 acres, but of what I actually is tendable land that's not trees, and it's probably about 250 to 300 acres.
Okay.
So it's a lot smaller scale, something, a lot more manageable.
Okay. Do you actually get out there and do it with the tiller and I don't even know the terminology?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
Combine, how's that?
I have one guy who works for me full time, kind of helps me with that and do other things, and then so I'm actually out there with my hands dirty and all too.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
But I enjoy it. It's just something different.
Yeah. And how many hours a week do you work at the ER?
I used to, back beforehand, I used to work about 15 to 16 shifts a month, and our shifts range from 8 to 12 hours. So it generally ran out about 160, 180 hours a month.
Okay.
Because our shifts are so variable. One day I'll be working the day shift, and an evening shift, and a night shift, and go back to days, and it just switches all around.
Okay.
And it's the problem is it's not right here in my town because of how little that they actually pay in the ER here. So it's about a 2-hour commute one way.
Oh, wow.
So, and I recently switched jobs a few months ago to one that I work 24-hour shifts now, so it makes it a lot more easy to have because of so many more days off for that.
Okay. And what?
You ever have any poker-related injuries? Because Steve once had to go to an emergency room where he had a couple of poker chips stuffed. Well, I'm not going to say where, but he had a disagreement in the card room, and things got rough.
I couldn't get him out myself. It was horrible.
Yeah. You'd be surprised at all the different things that we see in different places.
Yeah.
More than you can imagine.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of that. What are the I know at least where I work, the hospital in Oxnard is it can be a rough area of town, and there's a lot of stabbings and shootings, and then you kind of go into Ventura where I live, and it's a little bit more of kind of easygoing. It's pretty rare that they get stuff like that. What is it like at the ER that you're at? What are some of the common?
It's just a mixture. I work in several different ERs around in the South Georgia area. And some of them are a lot of stabbings and shootings and just a lot of sick people who really don't take care of themselves. I mean, here in Georgia, we're in the hypertension, diabetes, obesity belt.
Yeah.
So there's just so much of the population is obese and diabetic and high blood pressure, and they don't take their meds. And so it's just all the comorbidities that are associated with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We can now. I don't know if it's a good time to jump into poker here, but you have an interesting. You really came into poker late. I mean, it took me a while to start studying it, but I was watching it on TV for. I mean, did you? Sounds like just a little over a year ago. I mean, I'll let you tell the story. You went to a riverboat, but
yeah.
I mean, were you watching poker on TV before you went there?
Not really, and I'd really never played. You know, I missed the moneymaker effect and the poker boom. You know, I was just so busy with med school and undergrad and residency and all that I really didn't play at all then. You know, I saw it on TV maybe one time in those 10 years or so after the moneymaker effect. So I missed all the heyday of it. But how I got into it was that the only casinos we have in Georgia are down in like the coastal area. They have some like gambling boats that you get on and they go offshore. And they have to go to international waters, which is about, I think, 3 miles out, and then you can legally gamble. What, sir?
I said, 3 miles out.
Yeah, so they have to go out there. That's the only casinos we actually have in Georgia. And so me and my wife went from time to time to go play some blackjack, and one time I saw it was actually doing a Texas Hold'em tournament. I was like, that sounds interesting. It's like a $150 buy-in or so. So I was like, okay, I'll register this just to try it out to see. And like, so during dinner, while we're eating dinner on our little boat, I'm Googling how to play Texas Hold'em and stuff and reading it. And basically it told me to only play the super premium hands of ace, queen plus and large pocket pairs. And so I went and played super tight and obviously ran good and I cashed in it. It was like 25, 30 people playing in it. And after that, I've just been hooked ever since.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've been playing for like 14 months now is all.
And you play on ACR, right? That's the hand history we got. And do you play any other sites or?
Yeah, I also play Carbon and Bovada as well.
Okay.
Most up until recently, most of it's been either Carbon or Bovada.
Okay.
How does your wife feel about your newfound love? This is a question I ask everybody. family related questions.
Yeah, she understands, but you know, anything because I'm so busy in all my other ventures that takes time away from the family is not necessarily a positive thing, and that kind of limits how much I can play.
Yeah, of course.
You know, how much
but
I
it
can go
sounds
play
like
live or go play, you know.
It sounds like, if I remember though, you've already cranked up quite a bit of volume, and you're definitely investing time into studying the game, not videos and podcasts. And I think you said you've already played 3,000 tournaments online. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So sometimes I'll play while watching a movie. I'll have like one table or two table off to the side or something. Just to play whenever I can. And whenever it's super slow at work, the ER work now is very, very slow. So sometimes there I can play as well. So.
Okay. How many hours a month would you say you're able to get in?
I'm probably like 20 hours a week of playing on average, but
wow.
Most of the time is why I'm doing other stuff and just one or two tabling.
Okay.
So what?
So it's not like I'm actually, I don't know what that equivalent to actually sitting down and grinding 6 tables.
It sounds like I think I've told the story here. I actually sort of started with you, but I'd watched on TV, but I entered a tournament at Foxwoods for like $100 something bucks, and there was like 150 people there. I won the first tournament I played, and unfortunately for me, I just assumed this was because I was a genius. So I did not even know there was such a thing as training sites, or I had no poker friends, so I didn't discuss a hand. And then I was losing money online and just thought I was getting unlucky. But it sounded like right away you knew that this is a game that needed to be studied. It's not just like, okay, I came in third in a tournament, I'm great at this.
Yeah, because I have such a long commute, the first thing I did was start to search out, because, before I was listening to like books on tapes and things like that. So I started searching out for different podcasts, to listen to, and one of the first ones I found was actually the TPE podcast.
Right.
So I started listening to all their podcasts, going back through the years and all. And so that really kind of gave me a line, and they started talking about the videos, and so I signed up for the site. And so I started watching the videos and all as well.
Okay. Do you have any favorite videos or people there you kind of most emulate, you think, in your style of game, or?
My game is, I think it's so poor in comparison to all those guys. It's hard to say anything actually emulates them, but I really like the Mark Aliotta stuff and the Big Dog stuff. It's just, they're very entertaining, and, because I'm naturally, whenever I play them, I can be very aggressive, so that kind of emulates them more so.
Okay. And it sounds like you also, you had a nice score playing live poker. I always say that's, as much as I enjoyed live online, as soon as I final tabled a circuit event like my second tournament, and I was like, okay, this live poker is the best thing ever. So I don't know how that, because you really have to travel if you want to play live poker. It's not like there's
it's about there's one in Jacksonville, which is a little over 2 hours away. Is the closest live casino where I can actually go down and play. And yeah, the first big tournament, from last year for my birthday, I told my wife I wanted to go off, for a few days and play like a big live event. So the first one I played was they had what they call the MSPT, the Mid-States Poker Tournament, Mid-States Poker Tournament down in Jacksonville. It was like a $1,100 buy-in. And I went and played that, and the very first one I did, I got the final table and got seventh in it. It was out of like 420 people or so.
There's nothing that'll get you hooked like that, especially when you first start.
It's fun. As fun as it is to see the chips online go to you, actually raking in the big pots and seeing the stack in front of you, it's just nothing like it.
And then going to the cage with the black chips and I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. When they pay you out, and they pay out in cash and have, like, for the seventh place, I wound up getting like, I think, a little over 15,000. So they give me like 15,000 actually in hundreds, and it's just
yes.
It's just nothing like that at all. And I was telling some of the people there, in spite of my job, was seeing all the people literally dying around me, and I'm just so used to that at this point that it really doesn't. I can sit there and talk about anything while I'm managing, actual death around me, and that really doesn't get my heart pumping, but run a big bluff or, value bet huge and double up, and that gets my heart pumping.
Yeah. It's like Ben Reason was talking about. He said it's almost the equivalent of a drug, shipping a tournament.
It really is.
You just get that rush that I don't get it anywhere. Even at work, there's no feeling like
it. Yeah, exactly. Like when I was playing the MSPT tournament, that night I could not sleep at all. I was so excited that I actually bagged chips.
Yeah, bagging chips is great too. Bagging, playing with chips, anything chip related.
Yeah, just online could never compete with that, I don't think.
So coaching might be, getting a little coaching here might be the next step for you, it appears.
Yeah, I think so, because, it's hard to know what you don't know. Whenever I'm sitting there playing and I'm reviewing my own hands, I don't know the spots that I'm missing.
Yeah.
So I think, that would be helpful.
Well, I think we're going to be able to help you out today. We looked over your hand history, and I think we found a few spots that's going to kind of expand and open up your game a little bit.
Yeah, I sure appreciate it.
Okay. Shall we jump in, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. You can see my screen, right? I got a screen shared with you?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Darren, can you see it?
Well, I'm on my line.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he'll remember some of these hands, but we'll have to describe them anyways for our listeners. So.
Yes, he is.
By the way, this is a tournament that Daren final tabled on ACR recently. So Steve's idea here is to do kind of a series of hands, how you move to a final table.
It's actually when I was playing with you.
Yeah, we were. I don't think we were ever on the same table, but we both.
No, I think we both were in the top. Like we 10 or 12 or so.
Was this the one where this might have been the one where I slow played kings on the final table bubble, and somebody cracked him with 4-9 or something crazy.
Yeah, that's the one. I messaged you, how excited I was, we'd make a final table here together.
Yeah, no, that would have been cool. I had a lot of chips too. I fucked that up, but anyways.
Yeah, you and I were playing together the other night. That was. Did you end up cashing in that one? I can't remember if we made the money or not at that time.
Yeah, I got like 24th or 25th or so. So I think I'm in cash. But.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that you got 6 on that, man. Congrats.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get to play a hand together, but you or I got moved. We only sat at the table for 10 hands together or whatever. So
yeah.
Okay, here's the one. You've got ace-3 of clubs in the big blind, and there's a min raise. Well, not quite a min raise, maybe a 2.2x under the gun, and it folds around to you in the big blind, and you complete, which I think is good. You think so too, Mike?
Ace-3 suited, yeah. We should also point out this is already late game stuff, kind of. It's the blinds are 350 and 700, so it's. I don't know if it's in the money yet. Probably getting close. Yeah.
You've got 59 bigs. The under the gun opener has 29. So you complete with ace-3 of clubs. The flop comes probably about as it gets for your hand. It's a queen of hearts, 7 of spades, 7 of hearts, and I don't see anything to do here but pretty much check fold unless you've got some kind of super read on this guy, which you can't because you only have 8 hands on him at this point, and that's what you do. So I think that was good.
I disagree, Steve. I think that was a peanut farmer who gave up a big pot.
I should have checked raising. There might be an argument for check raising.
Well, the opening guy, I don't necessarily. That's not a bad pot to bluff at because the opener. Of course, we have very few hands in all these guys, so it's hard. Obviously, a lot of these things, if you're going to go by the HUD. Darren, do you have the HUD, by the way?
I do. I just got it within the last 10 days or so.
Okay.
So after seeing, other people play on HUD on the Twitch and stuff, I decided that actually whenever I saw Aliota's review of Killing Bars like $1 million run and him kept going over the HUD and all, that's what prompted me to go get it.
Right. Oh yeah.
That
new software. No, but quickly, Queen 7-7. The only Daren should have a 7 in his range there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it wouldn't be, and the under the gun guy didn't start with a lot of chips in this hand. Looks like a little less than 30. And if you're getting just to throw, for the sake of discussion. So at the point that he c-bets, there's 6,400 in the pot. So there is the temptation to click it back here.
Well, what I was thinking another line actually was check call and then lead the turn.
Yeah, that possibly too. So
lead the turn for like 2/3 or something. I would like that a lot more, though, because the flop is Queen of Hearts, 7 of Spades, 7 of Hearts, and you've got Ace 3 of Clubs. Like, let's say you had the Ace of Hearts, or let's say, like Ace 3 offsuit. Let's say you had the Ace of Hearts, 3 of Clubs, or if
he's never folding the Ace of Hearts there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Then you can go for the check raise or check call, lead any turn heart.
It wouldn't be. Basically, though, especially if this, the dynamics of the table, if you had all the different factors that would go into it. If this was like the actual money bubble, you put him in a real tough spot. Obviously, if you raise him here, because he can see bet and fold and still have 23 bigs. But no, I mean, but Darren's got a nice stack here. He's got 40K at 350, 700, and there's no reason really to get out of line here. There's better spots, so I think check folding is fine.
I think so too. I think that's the best option, but you could go for it if you wanted to, but I think the best line personally is.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to now for my game, from what I've seen, and I'll try to cut down on some of my double and triple barrel bluffing and check raising over there, and because looking back over other hands and stuff, that's where I give them a lot of trouble with my game at is running to the good bluffs and trying to be too aggressive and
right.
And I'll just wind up punting and spewing away my stack.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice. Yeah, well, the we have Carlos on this week. Is the episode that just came out last night or this morning, and of course he is a big proponent of the fact that especially on these American sites, there's really no reason to be super aggressive and try to steal pots because when you have a hand, people always pay you off.
Yeah.
So there's why waste?
That's kind of what I'm starting to see more so. The less that I wind up double and triple barreling and running huge bluffs, the better I tend to do because I do way too much of that as it is.
Okay. Here on the next hand, you've got Ace 8 of diamonds in the small blind. Blinds are still the same level, 350, 700. You've got 57 bigs. The big blind has 32, so it's the very next hand, so it's the same villain. On this one, you min raised to 1400. And Mike and I were talking about this last night, and I saw this immediately as generally what I do from the small blind if I'm going to steal is I 3x it at least, sometimes 3.5.
Okay.
And the reason is because you're going to be out of position for the rest of the hand, so you really want to charge him. If you just min raise here, the pot's 2,800. It's only 700 for him to call. He's getting 4-1. So he should be calling there with just about any two cards, probably only folding absolute crap like 8-3. Now Mike, on the other hand, he was saying that, well, you know what? I kind of like a min raise there. Your hand's pretty well disguised and this and that and the other thing. So for me, I would say if you're going to be out of position and you're raising like that, I'd make it 3 or 3.5x. If you're in position, though, and you're going to go for a 3-bet, Like let's say you have a under the gun raiser, I would raise him probably 2 or 2.5x. Because you're going to have position for the rest of the hand, so that's a huge advantage to you. Here you're at a disadvantage because you're in the small blind, he's in the big. You just click the min button, and now he's getting great odds to call.
Okay.
But this is a good hand, ace-8 of diamonds too. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, Steve, I kind of told you you'd lead the poker discussion because you have the more professional, scientific attitude towards poker. But I mean, who raises 3.5x from small blind to big blind? I just don't see that very much. I mean, you're saying that's standard.
I'm not saying it's standard. I'm just saying that's what I do.
Okay. I mean, is this something you've worked? We get knowledge flowing down the poker tree here. Is this something Mark told you maybe that your small blind raises were too small or?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, generally speaking, people, there's trends where people are really defending wide from the big blinds now.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason I know blind versus blind. It's supposed to be either limp or raise pretty big. By big though, I always thought 2.5x or something. I don't think I've seen anyone who's over 3x.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's not a good strategy. I mean, you're gonna get played back at so infrequently here. In terms of light 3-betting and stuff. I mean, if you're doing the same size every time and you're raising every time, that's not necessarily true. People are going to notice that and still 3-bet you light. But it does have to be very profitable there, obviously, 3.5x.
Yeah. I would prefer either limping to disguise your hand and or making it 3x, making it like 2021, something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it matters or not, but that's kind of what I do with my entire range from most all positions, just min raise.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that.
And that's just kind of my, standard thing with, to kind of keep from, going into bigger or smaller with big hands and having any kind of readable thing.
Okay.
And with this, regardless of what the flop comes out, I'm going to fire at it. So, because from what I've seen is people, defend so wide, but then they give up so much on the flop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you do just that. The flop comes out 7 of hearts. He calls, by the way. So we go to the flop. The flop is 7 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 10 of clubs, and again you've got the ace-8 of diamonds, and you click the half pot button, and villain calls. So at this point you got ace high, but we hit gin on the turn, and we got the ace of spades. So the board is 7 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 10 of clubs, ace of spades, and you've got the ace-8 of diamonds. And at this point, you click the half pot button again. We noticed something throughout this review, and you click the half pot button quite a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of my standard thing. That way, I do it with I do it with my whole range as well to make it completely disguised.
I noticed that. And that part I think is really good in that, they can't tell by your sizing if you're bluffing or if you've got the nuts. There was one time though that I noticed, if you get to the river, this is where you don't always use the half pot button anymore. And now it's real easy for me to tell because I looked over 300 hands of yours, and I can see your cards every single time, and so I picked up this pattern. And I don't think anyone else would pick this up unless they have 1,000 hands on you. But the pros will see this after a while, is on the river, if you've got something like ace-10 on a jack-high second pair is a 10 flop, instead of betting half pot, you'll bet a third pot. Or if you have the nuts on the river, you'll take the time to type in the amount that you want to bet.
Yeah, I kind of do. Listen to Brocus about it. He was talking about how you could be more exploitable on the river.
Yes.
Just because you get that situation so few times. So you can take more exploitable lines there.
Okay.
On the river because, people just don't see it often enough to actually to pick up any pattern on that.
Okay. Yeah, that could be. You're talking about his value targeting series?
I believe that's it. It's either that or one of his podcasts.
Okay. Yeah, I think on this flop, okay, so again, you got ace-8 of diamonds. The flop is 7 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 10 of clubs. you're betting half pot here. I think if he doesn't have anything, you can accomplish the same thing by betting like a third pot. And not necessarily clicking the third pot button, but just, betting 11 or 1200 here. And you can save 500 chips in the time that he flopped a 10 or the time that he got, a middle pair or something like that.
Okay.
You can save a little bit there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Just something to think about.
But you're also making just throwing obviously all the different stuff. If you bet a third pot, you're making a possible bluff raise for this guy cheaper.
True.
You know what I mean? If you bet, so just, you know what I'm saying? Like at his stack depth, if he reads that as weak, you got to obviously just balance. And when you smash the flop, bet a third too, if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you're probably right. This is probably a player who just is simply only going to call if he has a piece of the flop. But if his fold to C bet is low, then I'd bet half pot or more and just prepare for the double barrel personally.
Yeah.
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 Although a check on the turn wouldn't be awful here, obviously with top pair.
Yeah.
But it's so
in my mind.
Yeah, it's so standard for the original raiser when that ace comes on the turn to take a shot at it. Though a lot of people think, "Oh, this."
I'm going to be betting that
shit,
whether I have an ace or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, ace comes on the turn, and you bet half pot again, and he calls. The river's offsuit 9, so the flush doesn't get there. So the final board is 7, 4, 10, ace 9, and you got ace 8. And we click the third pot button, and he calls, and you win a nice pot. So
I like the third, but my guess is this guy had a pretty weak hand. He had king 7 or something.
Yeah.
I like the third, the smaller bet just to get paid there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like 8-7 or some. I don't think he had a 10. I think he had.
And his chip stack's not huge, so if you went for 2/3 pot there, I think he's gonna probably get rid of second pair.
Yeah. Another option too is you could bet even smaller and hope he might think he could take it away with the raise.
But I think he's got a pair though, so he has showdown value. So I don't see the only way. Well, he might raise a miss flush, but that's it. And I think he's got much more pairs than a miss flush, frankly. So
yeah, you're probably right. Okay, let's see what the next hand is. Okay, here we've got jacks in middle position.
He moved tables here.
Move tables here. You got 34 bigs, 84K.
We've jumped ahead in the tournament, obviously, a little bit here.
Yes, blinds are 1250, 2500. We got a real loose guy on our right. His numbers so far got 82 hands on him. He's got 51 bigs, and his numbers are 44, 31, 18.2 3-bet. So this guy's playing everything. Okay, he's very active. He min raises in what would that be? UTG plus 3. You're right behind him with pocket jacks. When I first saw this, I thought it should definitely warrant a 3-bet. But then after talking with Mike about it and looking at this guy's HUD stats, he folds to 3-bets 99% of the time, and there's that's 5 hands over 82. So every time it's been 3-bet, he's folded. So after talking with Mike, we're thinking, well, maybe it is better for a limp here because you're going to get him to fold all his crap that he is raising, and you want him in there with his 8-7 or whatever he's raising with. And but then on the other side of the coin too, by you calling, you're now inviting a whole bunch of stacks behind you to come in for pretty cheap, and your jacks are against four-handed are probably 30% at that point.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't hate a raise and I don't hate a call either. What do you think, Mike?
Well, if you remember when we discussed this hand, my issue for flatting the jacks was you have 3 shove stacks right behind you.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom. 15 big blinds, 6 big blinds, 12. So I thought you were hoping for a reshove there. So no, you don't want to go forward to the flop with jacks, but I thought there was a decent chance someone would shove behind you. And then if this 44, 31 or whatever he is, big number, very active guy reshoves, then it's a fist pump, call. You're certainly ahead of his range. So that was, that was my main reason, is not merely to disguise the strength of your hand, but to hopefully induce action behind you.
Yeah. You got 15 bigs, 5 bigs, 17. And that could be a perfect squeeze spot for those guys, which you could take advantage of. But you call. Unfortunately, they don't shove. The 17 big blind stack on the button calls, and then the small blind folds, big blind calls. Flop is, you've got the Jack of Hearts, Jack of Clubs, and the flop is 7 of Spades, 2 of Spades, Queen of Hearts. Okay, so you got a pair underneath the queen there. Big blind checks. And the active guy to your right, he bets out 7,000 into a 23,000 pot.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of the bet size. This is, I think, the first hand at a new table too. We should point out. This was like, or we we don't know that for sure, because we jumped ahead so many hands. But
that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what you do here, Daren. But I never know, especially in those multi-way pots when someone Steve bets really small.
I'm thinking I'd probably call. Not remember the specific hand, but knowing how I would probably play it.
Okay. Yeah, you do call. The button folds and the big blind folds. So luckily you get heads up with the worst player at the table. And the turn is a 5 of diamonds. So the board is 7 of spades, 2 of spades, Queen of Hearts, 5 of diamonds, and you got the Jack of Hearts, Jack of Clubs. No spade. And with 37,000 in the pot, he now checks. At this point, I think you're good. I don't think he's checking a queen there.
Right.
He's maybe he's check calling with a flush draw, which you're ahead of. I don't see any reason not to bet here. Do you, Mike?
No. I mean, yeah, I bet. I mean, because he's opening so wide, you're going to be taking it down with a bet here. So often, I think it's very tempting just to check and see if he'll take a shot at the river, though. Yeah. I mean, you don't love if a king or an ace comes, but you feel you're only dodging 6 outs if he's got an ace and king in his hand, and you're 88% win this hand or whatever that would be.
I was thinking something like a third pot, 37K in the pot, something like 12, maybe even smaller, maybe even make it like 10.
Well, what are you trying to accomplish with the bet? Are you trying to push him off a draw?
I'm trying to get him to call with 8-7.
You're trying to get him to okay.
Trying to get him call with 8-7 because I think that's squarely in his range. Any 7, maybe he turned to 5 and now he has showdown. So I think with numbers like these, he's not folding if he has any pair. Maybe he's folding a 2. Flush draws, I think, are calling. Yeah, that was my thought. If he does have air, like ace-6 or something, yeah, you are getting him to fold that. But is he really calling your river bet if he hits a 6? Maybe. But if he has something
he might bluff on the river though.
That's true.
He might
if you take the weak line and check, he might bluff on the river.
I mean, basically, when you're reading the other guy's hand, here I would be, but like you said, he could very well have a pair. I mean, he could have a queen for all we know, but I would be like targeting air. You know what I mean? Which means basically I got to get him to put chips in.
Okay.
If I want to get any more, but you only have 72,000 in your stack. There's 37,000 in the middle, so you bet here, take it down, and you've just increased your stack by 50%. So
yeah. Okay. He checks, you check behind, and the river is an offsuit 9. So the final board is 7-2 queen 5-9. He checks again, and you see any reason not to throw out a value bet here, Mike?
Yeah, I would bet this. Yeah.
What's your sizing look like?
Probably pretty small, 14K or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking like 12. Okay, and perfect. You bet 12-5, and he folds. Okay, so he probably had complete air.
I like his check back on the turn there. As much as
Okay.
you're giving him free. I think the only way you're getting one more chip out of this guy is if he bets the river with his, because he's got crap so often, frankly. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of value bet on the turn, but we go for it on the river, and he folds anyway, so he was probably folding no matter what. Let's see. Okay, where are we here? Okay, this one right here. Blinds are 1750, 3,500. You're in the under the gun +3 with king queen of clubs. So you got king queen suited. Folds to you. It's an open all day long, which you do. You get one call from the player to your left, and the button, small blind, fold, and the big blind calls. So you raise to 7,000, middle position calls, big blind calls. There's 25,000 in the pot, and we go to a flop of 10 of clubs, 2 of diamonds, 7 of spades, and you've got king queen of clubs. Big blind checks, and now it's on you. And now, if it were like the 10 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 7 of spades, I could definitely see checking here. But with the 10 of clubs, that opens up some backdoor flush possibilities. And this is a spot that I'm working on with Mark right now. And you being the opener, just having that back door right there adds a bit of equity to your hand, and I think it's a good spot to barrel there.
Yeah, I'd be c betting here for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the big blind is defending with just about any 2 cards. He's got a pretty good stack, and yeah, the middle position guy. I mean, you're hoping he has an ace, and I mean he doesn't necessarily have to have a pair.
Yeah.
And if he does have a pair, it's probably a middle pair, 6 through pocket 5s through 9s, and there'll be a lot of good turn cards where you can barrel them off that too. So
yeah, I think so as well. By the way, you've got 31 bigs to start the hand. The guy in middle position has 41, and the big blind has 48. Yeah. If you didn't have the back door, I wouldn't mind a check, but just having that 10 of club gives you a little back door. You check, and something weird happens. The guy in middle position with 25K in the pot, he bets 3,500. So he's betting like an 8th pot, but he bets 3,500. The big blind calls, and here we're definitely not folding, but I don't know what that means. We're talking about this last night, and I don't know if that's a raise or if we're better off just peeling there and then leading on a favorable turn, or.
Yeah, I never know what the sizing on this means.
Yeah, the sizing's just so weird, but
I kind of just treat it as a check.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. Yeah, but okay, you call. So we go to the turn with 36,000 in the pot. Turn is a pretty good card. It's the Jack of Hearts. So now the board is rainbow, 10, 2, 7, Jack, and you've got King, Queen. The big blind checks, and I really like a bet here. I like a bet of something like maybe 15K, 16, 17, something like that. You've got 2 overs. You got an open ender. So you got 6 out. We're going to assume that a queen or a king will give you the best hand, and definitely a 9 or an ace that'll give you the nuts. Yeah, I like a bet here. Try to take it down.
Okay.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I like that. I would bet bigger though, because I think betting small, you get people to call with pocket 7s. If the big blind has a 9-7 or something now with the gutter ball and a 7.
Okay.
I think I always like, just visually 30,000 in the pot. I would like to go over the 20,000 mark here.
Okay.
Just to make it, 20,665 or something.
Okay.
And if these guys' ranges if neither of them has a pair bigger than a 10 there, obviously, somebody certainly could have 10 Jack here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone could have 8-9 suited too. The middle position guy could call at this stack depth. So, Yeah, I like betting bigger. I don't
Okay.
know I don't know if I could totally justify it strategically, but yeah, I mean you're not gonna hit your hand that often on the river. But I guess the advantage of it being bigger if you call, if they do call, you can bet bigger and get paid off more. But I mean, if the goal is to get, if you think each of these guys have a pair, a 10 or a 7, betting bigger here. Now that neither of them should ever be folding a 10 here, anyways, when you bet big. But you never know. And this is probably 2 tables left. I mean, we're pretty deep here. 3,500, 7,000.
Final 2 tables.
So, you got to always take that into consideration. People's ranges tighten up when you start going deep sometimes, and someone's not going to be in love with second pair then when you bet big here. So that's my first instinct. But I mean, on the other hand, if you check and this guy bets 3,600 again, you also get to draw to the nuts very cheap.
Yeah,
so that's the advantage.
Yeah. Okay, so big blind checks, hero checks. And middle position, he bets 13,000 into a 36 pot. Hero calls.
What do you think of the call?
Well, if you think the guy has if you think you can stack him on the river, which I think there's a decent chance here. I think he definitely has a 10, maybe 10 jack. Then yeah, because you got 49 in the pot and you got 13 and another. So you basically you think you can win 49 plus the 97K in your hand. Mm-hmm. So basically, you're putting 13,000 in to win 146. You're getting more than 10 to 1 on a possibly. You have a chance for like a 12 to 1 payoff on your, or 11 to 1 payoff on calling this.
On your call here, yeah.
And you're only 8 to 1 underdog to win the hand. So yeah, it's profitable there when you do hit it. So yeah, okay. I would be calling here. And if you call and you miss, you don't love it obviously, but you still got 12 big blinds. You still got a healthy shove stack with fold equity. So yeah, I would be calling here certainly.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, you call. We hit gin on the river. I've said that like 8 times this podcast. Huh? Okay. You got the nuts. The river's a 9, offsuit 9. So the final board is 10, 2, 7, Jack 9, and you got King Queen. So there's 62K in the pot, and you got 84 in your stack. And this is the part that jumped out at me. Is right here you bet 35,000 exactly. So you typed it in, and this was the only time I saw you do this the whole tournament. And that's good that you were following Andrew's advice, and that in these rare spots you can get more, in which you did. Personally, I think you could have gotten even more. I think you could have gotten you could probably bet 55 here, maybe even more. And we never find out what the guy has because he calls and we don't know his hand. But I think this is a spot where you could go even bigger. So
I probably could have, just as an aside. I remember the chat box of this. The guy typed out to me that I wish he would have bet more so I could have folded.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say the opposite. I think if you bet big there, he's definitely much more likely to fold the 1 pair hands. So I kind of like the bet sizing, but definitely you got to bet there.
Yeah.
There's at least one hand where you do not bet you're straight on the river.
Yeah.
Which I did not like because but here unless he has an 8, of course, he's checking back everything, even probably. I guess a set he bets there.
Yeah.
But
you were the early position opener. There's probably not too many 8s in here.
Well, there's 4 to a straight, but to a gutter ball straight to an 8. So, I think if you check to him, basically, he's checking back even 2 pair hands possibly. So the only way if you want to get paid here, you got to bet the nuts, and so I like that.
Yeah.
I like the bet sizing too. Although Steve might be right, this might be one of those hands where if he's calling half pot, he's calling 2/3, 3/4 pot too. Mm-hmm. We don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? But I think your read was right, is that he doesn't have like a set. He probably has a 1 pair hand, and I want to get paid here.
Yeah. The one that you're referring to, Mike, was actually in direct relation to this hand. because it was the same villain, and I basically made my straight on the river on that one as well. So I wanted to take a different line than.
Okay.
Okay. Are you talking about the Jack 9 where you hit the gutter ball on the river?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was like one or two hands later, where I made a straight against the same villain. So I wanted to try to vary my line some.
Okay. Well, we can discuss that when we get to it.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, Steve, this is not now chronological, I should point out. The blinds now are 2,000, 4,000.
You know what? I might not have the Jack 8 one tag.
I kind of.
Well,
if you want to just talk about that hand philosophically, the flop was, I believe it was Ace Queen 8, and you had Jack 9.
Yes, it was.
And you flopped the gutter ball, and you check called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you were out of position here, I believe.
He was, yeah.
And the turn was an 8.
Yep.
And I forget the stack depth. This was the one that was a little bit of a head scratcher that you check called the 8. But that does look very strong. But if you're gonna check call there, I kind of like leading out on the river, regardless of the turn, regardless of personally right there.
Yeah.
Because you weren't really getting the price to chase the gutter ball. I didn't think. There might have been a flush draw out there, and you were thinking you would bluff if the flush draw came in too.
There was a flush draw. There was 2 hearts. The ace and the ace and the 8 were hearts. The queen offsuit, and then I like leading the turn there actually. So you got ace queen 8 on the flop. You check call, and then the turn is an 8. I think that's the perfect card to barrel, because look at your line from his perspective. He raised. You called out of the big blind. You check call on the flop. You do that with an 8 or probably a weak ace. Then the turn is an 8. If you lead there, I think he's folding most queens.
Yeah.
An ace or an 8 looks very likely. I think you could take it down on the turn with Jack high. The only way you're winning that hand is if you hit the 10, like you ended up doing. But I like leading the turn on that one.
Okay.
On the other hand, this guy is double barreling, which means he's got an ace a lot of the times.
He could.
You know what I mean? And he's not folding an ace to. He's not going to put you on specifically on an 8, I don't think. But you don't know who the villain is. But I think the lead is better than the check call. I'd be check giving up here probably, or leading.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but do you remember this hand at all? Like, what were you thinking with the check call on the turn? Were you kind of planning on maybe bluffing the river if you missed your hand?
Planning on probably bluffing the river if I missed it. Or,
Okay.
I figured that he would keep barreling away if I wound up hitting it. And, I was planning on check jamming on him on the river.
Okay, well then that line I like then if you're gonna call the turn for sure.
That was kind of my plan, but then he checked behind, because I just made a straight like the king queen straight like a hand or two beforehand. So I was going to check to him and try to take a different line on the river on this one, but he wound up checking it back.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. This is you've got.
Wait, hold on, Steve. We moved past the hand. We didn't discuss the river.
Yeah, you're right.
The 10, because this is the only part that I strongly disagreed with, was him not betting the river when the 10 came and you had the straight.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what I disagree, whether it's like when people say, well, I got to be balanced here. I mean, I personally never think of balance, and I don't know if I'm right about it, but basically you should be thinking of what profitability here. Like there's going to be times you naturally balance because you're targeting, because you think the guy has almost nothing. You have to check the river if you want him to bet with your nuts. Where here, I think he's definitely got something. He's got a pair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what your instinct was at the time, but I just think the reasoning. Well, last time I bet the nuts, but he did not see your hand. Oh no, he did see your hand the last time he called. I don't know. My read of it was without even seeing what, I can't remember what happens here. If he bets the river or not. No, I think he checks back, and that's why I didn't like it.
Back.
But I think he has a pair. Like I said, specifically on the hand with the jacks, I was just thinking he has nothing, and you have to act accordingly. So it's not about balance. It's about the only way you're going to profit from here is checking back on the turn, which I thought was good. But here, I think I just think you're going to get called a lot with a bet here. That was my first instinct. So that would not, I mean, it's good that you're paying attention to game flow and how did I play the biggest one before. But I think more you're playing against his range of hands here is what is the determining factor on the river. So this was the only. I didn't really have any. Just looking at the hands, I mean, I didn't go as quite in depth as Steve, but this is of all the hands, this is the one decision you made that I didn't like for sure. The rest of them, marginally, but I think your rationale is okay. But I think more often than not, I think you're just getting a check back just so often. I don't think he's bluffing at that with a missed flush. I could be wrong, but you've check called twice. That's pretty strong. It looks like you have an ace right now. He's certainly not putting you on a straight draw. If he has a queen, he's checking back.
Yeah.
And even an ace, unless he's got ace king, he's probably checking back. And I don't know he's going to be bluffing that often. There's, I mean, so anyways, that's just my feeling. That was the one hand where I'm like, yeah, I really didn't like the check on the river there. But anyways.
Yeah, that's a lot of value.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're down to the final table. You've got 16 big blinds in the 16 big blinds. Blinds are 5,000, 10,000. We are six-handed. And there's a guy, don't really see it on just the hands I marked, but he's been playing pretty crazy. I played with a guy while Mike was watching me. Oh, that tournament we were in together the other day, Daren. When I got final table, there was one guy, he must have had something to do or gotten an emergency phone call or something because he was shoving every single hand. And
well, and he finally just left the table.
He finally just left the table, yeah. This guy at your table wasn't like that, but he was open shoving probably maybe 25% of hands. Just open shoving with 30, 40 bigs. And anyways, he does the same in this hand. Do you remember this guy or?
I do, and I remember I folded a big hand on my big blind.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, he open shoves 35 bigs in the, I guess this would effectively be the hijack, since we're six-handed. Cutoff folds, button folds, small blind folds, and you're in the big blind with ace-10 of spades with 16 bigs. You're way ahead of what this guy is shoving, if he's shoving that often. I mean, he could have ace-jack or better here, but...
Yeah, I agree with you. I think at the time my thoughts were that, what would you be shoving like 35 bigs under the gun, for?
Yeah.
What was effectively, under the gun into all these other stacks that could bust you. So I'm thinking, I see a lot of people doing that with ace king or jacks or, hands that they potentially are scared with.
And he could have been doing that with those. But as often as he was shoving against that whole range, you've got to be good more often than not,
should definitely call.
Okay, cool.
I think the other thing that points to a call is he's the short stack at the table.
Yeah.
If there was someone with 5 or 6 big blinds, and I know Daren doesn't really. Daren right now is not in for the money anyways because so I'm sure these ICM fifth to fourth kind of stuff, but that would be something that Steve would certainly take into account if there was.
Oh, I mean 100. I'll probably do it way more than I probably should, taking the ICM into consideration. Stuff like this and try to ladder.
Okay.
Right. Well, like I said, so if there was 2 people with 5 and 6 big blinds, if you're going to the average, chip value and stuff, if this was a turbo or something, it's probably still a call against a guy who's shoving 25%. He is under the gun here. So my guess is he's, it's probably a little lower, his shove under the gun. But either way, ace-10 suited, I agree with Steve, ahead of his range. And the fact that 16 big blinds isn't really short. I mean, you can still 3-bet fold and do some stuff. But you're the shortest on the table, so no one else you can't really just count on someone busting soon. So if you're someone who's paying attention to ICM, I don't think that would be a factor here either, I guess is what I'm saying in my typical long-winded, inarticulate fashion.
Right up. Okay, the next one is you've got ace-4 offsuit in the small blind. You've got 11 bigs, and it folds to the button, who opens for 22,222. I think right here, you've got an ace against a button open who's opening really wide. I didn't realize it at the time, but apparently this guy is one of the top players on the American sites that you were lucky enough to have on your right. And I think you just got to stick it in, as the big dog would say, Stuffy Baker, and just except that he's doing that with 8-7 suited, and he's doing that with king queen suited, and he's also doing that with aces. But ace 4, I think, is way ahead of all of that, and just got to go for it.
What was this guy's name? What was his? Do you have it there?
Yeah, his name is it's all capitals. It's WAQAW.
Yeah. I didn't know who he was either. I wound up finding out that he was. Whenever I wound up busting out, he was very short, and he wound up winning the tournament.
Yeah, he's he was. There's funny. There was a whole thread of who's Wakwa, because he was he was killing. He had a month on Merge where he had 100,000 profit.
Wow!
Oh wow!
Where he won the 150K, and then the next weekend he came in second, and then won like the high roller 4 times. So people are like, who is this guy? And so now that I saw, I think I saw him the other night here again, and he's just, he's really good. He just doesn't make mistakes.
Just a machine, huh?
I mean, just because he's good doesn't really tell us a lot about his button opening range. Probably just about any player here is going to be over 50%, which means you got to shove the ace 4 here. Yeah, I agree with Steve.
Yeah. Okay, and
I know that when it came to final table, I became way too tight.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You see that? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Basically the same story here. We got an under the gun limp. It folds around to you in the big blind. You've got 10 bigs and you have ace 10 offsuit. Now this guy's numbers are 44, 31, 18% 3-bet. So he's the guy that we talked about before in the other hand. Super loose, just limping all sorts of stuff. Ace 10 is way ahead of that Stuffy Baker.
Yeah.
Okay? But all in all, man.
Right. Well, I mean, if this was the first time the guy limped, I'd be like a little cautious. But either way, I'd stuff, or I would treat ace high like the nuts post flop, and even post flop here, I'd be check shoving.
Yeah, pretty much check shoving just about any flop, I would think.
Was this his bust out hand? No, this was.
No, I don't have his bust out hand, but it was a standard spot.
No, I wound up getting down to like 6 bigs and got king. I think it was king 6 off on the button, and I wound up shoving it in and ran into aces.
Yep, that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
But all in all, man, great review. I was impressed. A lot of now keep in mind, we're just bringing up hands here that you can work on, but there was a lot of really good spots. And I think, especially for only having played for 14 months, you play extremely well. So congrats on that. Congrats on your deep run. And I've got a couple of points if you want to hear them that I think would help a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I really appreciate y'all looking over my interview.
Yeah. Okay, I think the number one thing you could do is we're going to get you a push fold chart. Okay, so I can email you a link to that. If you're listening and you don't have a push fold chart, just check the show notes. There'll be a link in there. And when you click on the link and you go there, you want to print this thing out and you want to have it next to you while you're playing. So pay attention to the tabs up at the top, because there's several different tabs. One of them will say no antes. Another one will say antes 10%. Another one will say antes 12.5%. Another one will say antes 15%. Make sure you pick the antes amounts that correspond with the site that you're playing. So, for you, Daren, on ACR and Bovada, it's going to be 10%. Unless you get unlucky or whatever, and the first 2 levels you have no antes. But generally speaking, you're going to be using the 10% antes the whole time. So print that out and have it next to you the whole time. And once you get down to 20 big blinds, this is your Bible. This is the way you're playing, and it's if no one has opened and you look on the chart and you have 14 big blinds and you're in under the gun +3, or you're in the cutoff or whatever, and you look down and you have 8-9 of hearts, and you look at the chart, let's see, 7-8 suited plus is a shove. Just click all in and go with it. And this is done by, it's the Nash chart, and it's done by people that are smarter than you and I and better at math, and they've figured all this out, and just accept that it's profitable. And this will take care of a whole bunch of little iffy spots, where you're not really sure what to do. If you just follow that chart religiously, it'll take care of all of that.
I don't know about follow religiously. You still got to take into account your competition here, obviously. If everybody is you think really weak, then maybe that if the chart says you've got 14 big blinds and it tells you to shove king 10 suited under the gun. If a lot of people are, raise folding kind of off shorter stacks and doing stuff, just throw that. I mean, you always got to pay attention to the game flow and what you're doing. Obviously, I can, they'll probably say, against a certain, if I've got 15 big blinds in the small blind against the button opening, I don't know what the shove charts say, but like I said, if the guy's passive, it might be a spot where any two cards are, but yeah. On the other hand, speaking of religiously, you don't want to take anything I say with religious fervor. So my any two card spots often blow up in my face, but no, yeah. The shove fold chart is one of the first things. I didn't even have it on a computer. When I read my first poker book I read, it had the shove fold chart in the back of the book. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the one by Elke. And I actually would have it open when I played and just pretty much follow it exactly like they said. So
yeah. Now, there are spots where you're going to adjust, and that would be, let's say a villain is very loose. You're going to want to play that, if you're in the small blind and the villain in the big blind is very loose, you're going to want to shove tighter than that shove chart. Okay, so you're going to want to tighten your range. Now, let's say he's really tight. Now you're going to want to open up that shove range even more and maybe shove 95% of your hands if he's really tight. So you do have to adjust that way. But generally speaking, especially when you're first starting out and you're multi-tabling and you're just looking at the chart real quick and it's timing down, just follow it. And you'll be right much more often than you're wrong. But yeah, he's right. You can't follow it completely religiously. So if he's a little bit...
Yeah, I know that I shove way tighter and call way tighter than that chart is. One thing, I was watching like the Matthew Hunt, like the TPU video on the short stack play. I don't know if y'all seen it. But, because on the shove push fold chart, there's just there's such a range of like how plus EV each one of these are. Do you follow it all the way down to the bottom of the shove chart where it may be only plus, a quarter of a big blind to shove there? Or do you just kind of cut off somewhere?
No, I follow it religiously. Unless I've got a lot of hands on the villain and I can see that he's really tight, then I open it up even more and I shove even wider and I'm shoving 8-4 offsuited. And if he's really loose, and, he's this guy right here that we're talking about that has 44, 31, 18.2, then I tighten up because I know he's going to call with queen 5, Yeah. So, yeah.
And then your calling range has to expand, of course, because he's shoving wider or, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do actually disagree with Daren there that, if you dropped the 10%, the bottom 10% of the shoving range from the Nash charts, I don't think you'd necessarily be making a mistake, especially considering late game, ICM considerations, all that kind of stuff. I pretty much follow him religiously, but, like you said, the bottom of the chart is just super marginal.
It's still an edge.
Yeah, but it depends how,
maybe you're right. It is only a quarter of a chip.
It'd be good for a cash game, but I was just worried about in tournaments, about my tournament life being worth something.
Again, it depends. We discussed that. I was really fascinated. The one hand we discussed with James Gettinger, where I had called the button shove with king 3, thinking he was just shoving so wide, and James said, no, I would want king 9 suited better. And he went up to his room. He came back like 45 minutes later and had this huge setup on the computer for me, and it showed that it cost me 9 big blinds to win like 0.3 big blinds. And basically, it's plus EV, but those 9 big blinds are 2 3-bets to active openers, which are higher plus EV. So you're not giving up value, would be his argument there, which was pretty strong. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, but again, this is, I don't know. But the answer to most things in poker is I don't know.
It
depends. This is why when Daren asked me for coaching, I was like, I'd much rather establish something where we, get on Skype, and then maybe there's sometimes you watch me play and I try to explain it, and there's sometimes I watch you play and offer my opinions, because especially my game is so much by feel and like leveling, like, oh, this guy's going to think I'm doing this because of that, and anyways. I thought so. Daren, where you think you're going from here? I hope you're not going to give up the medical career. I hope your wife's going to stop you from quitting the doctor's job to become
it's just
Columbia.
I don't think I could ever be as profitable in poker as I can in that.
That would be hard.
I'd have to be one of the top players in the world to ever be that profitable. And it's not something I would look to maybe cut down to part time in about 10, 15 years or so, and then I just want to continue playing because I enjoy it, and I'm just super competitive, and I don't want to do anything that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which could be dangerous. I was not really joking to Steve. I said this is a smart guy. This is a doctor who obviously is used to hard work. He's also farming. I said this could be a future MTT legend here. That might be the problem. You're going to get so good so quick. You'll be like, wow, I can make a living doing this.
I don't think that'll be the case.
Right on. Okay, so number one, you got use push fold chart, right? Okay, number two, another thing I saw going through the game flow. I don't know that we saw it much just in this review, but I didn't realize how many hands I played with you. But when I pulled up my HUD on you, I had over 350 hands, and something that jumped out at me right away with the numbers was now on my HUD, you were a 16-12 with a 3% 3-bet, so fairly tight. Now that's kind of a small sample, but I think it also says quite a bit. I think what you can do is if you want to continue playing a 16-12, I think that's okay. That's what Derek plays, and he's a profitable player every year. But I think we need to up your 3-bet a little bit. It's only 3%, so if we plug that into Slice, you're basically, and we're only using value hands, you're 3-betting aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, king, and that's about it. And what you can do to open that up, if we could get you up to like a 7% 3-bet, now when you 3-bet, people never really know if you have it. So if you continue to 3-bet the aces, maybe open it up a little bit, ace through 9-9, continue doing ace king, also 3-bet ace queen, and then mix in a few little suited connectors in there to kind of throw a wrench into the system. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So when you 3-bet with
just out of curiosity, do you prefer 3-betting like your suited connectors or your, like something that I've tried to mix in more so is like my ace or king big cards with a little card suited?
I prefer playing, and I think this is where Mike and I disagree, but I would prefer 3-betting with things like 5-4 suited, or Jack-10 suited, like 5-4 through Jack-10 suited. If we can plug that into your 3-betting range, you're now up to over 7%. You'll be at 7.25, I think is what the number said. And that's a lot tougher to play against than a 3% 3-better.
Yeah, but if you 3-bet with ace-3 suited and someone jams over you, you're like, okay, I got, you fold. But if you 3-bet with Jack-10 suited from the button, with 25 bigs, and you don't get to see a flop with that hand because you 3-bet and had to fold. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or suited connector, even 6-5 suited from the big blind. I mean, you just want to see a flop with that hand.
For me, I have no problem folding 6-5 suited because I know that 80% of the time that I 3-bet, he's going to fold over the random population. Now you can look at their stats and you know that this guy's only folding 20% to 3-bets, well, then you don't fold with that one. Then you just call, But I don't have any problem letting go 7-8 suited when they come over the top. I'm not going to call with 8 high. Right. It makes it easy when they do 3-bet you or when they 4-bet you to let it go because you have nothing. You just got this little suited connector, and on top of that, when you do hit a flop, like let's say you 3-bet and that 20% of the time they do call. Now, when the flop comes down, it's very easy to play your hand. If you got something, and if you don't. You've either got a flush draw, you got a straight draw, or you got a bottom, a low pair. Or if the flop comes all low cards, you've just crushed that flop, and he has no idea what you have. He's putting you on big cards, and you just flop 2 pair. So, I think
Daren, here's where you can reach for the earplugs, or just drift off and imagine pulling peanuts out of the ground. Here's where you got to just. No. Steve knows what he's talking about. Although I just point out, obviously, yeah, with a low 3-bet percentage, you should just not necessarily be concerned with, well, I got to get my numbers up as much as just, well, I can get away with more right now.
Yes.
Because people are going to,
Yeah.
but they will adjust to that too. I mean, you got to point out the obvious. Once you get up to 7%, people are going to notice you're 3-betting more. They're going to be peeling more and 4-betting more and all that. I mean, Daren, I already knows this, but I just want to point that out. This isn't like the solution to everything here. Well, I got a tight image. Now let's just double the 3-betting, and I'm dragging 80% more pots. It doesn't really work.
Yeah. Now, what you can do, the goal here is to be 3-betting with things like suited 1-gappers. But at least for now, just starting out, I would say just 3-bet your suited connectors, just because they're going to be easier to play later.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, everything as Daren gets used to the HUD, and I'm not using a HUD here, so I sound ridiculous saying that. But as you begin to utilize the HUD, of course, everything is villain dependent. You're much more likely to just flat if the guy is very barrely, very aggressive, can't give up on a pot, etc.
Yeah. But great review, man. I would recommend getting like a little piece of paper, or maybe like a 3x5 card, writing those things down and then taping it to the side of your computer, or have it somewhere like right in front of you while you're playing. That way you can look at those things as you're in game. Look at it before you start your session, and then look at it again, and kind of, that'll kind of get your mindset right for incorporating those into your game when you're playing.
Steve also believes you should lock yourself in the cellar and listen to 7,000 inspirational speeches in a row.
Yes. Gets the mind right,
Preferably no water down there, dehydration. The only thing that's keeping you alive.
Yes.
Is Tony Robbins. No, I would. I think Daren's on his way, and he's got basically.
I think so too. I was impressed.
Following beyond any specific strategy thing, if you're putting in a large volume of hands, and then if you're looking critically at what you're doing and what you're doing wrong. I mean, you're watching top players' videos on TPE, and you're doing your own hand history reviews. So, I think that's just I mean, everything Steve is saying is true, but I mean, just keep playing and just keep working at the game. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
You could tell this is why I have no confidence in myself as a coaching. I'd be like, hey, man, oh, by the way, send me a 12-pack for that advice, But nothing. Yeah, man, it'll be fun. I guess the three of us will all be bumping into each other here. And it's good to know that the Steve is 3-betting stuff that he's so willing to fold afterwards. He has so many of those.
Good knowledge.
He has so many of those in his range, apparently.
I think I could be exploded quite well now. I might have to adjust my game a little bit, especially playing against you two now.
I could see some 4-bets in his future.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just the idea of Steve 3-betting me light is horrifying. I'll be I will not be balanced either. I'll be shoving everything in.
He'll be shoving his queen 2 there, or his 9-4 off.
So what do you? I assume there is no such thing as a free day for you there, Daren. You're off to farm, or you got work today for the?
Yeah, so most days, like yesterday I worked a 24-hour shift, and then I have the day off, and then I go back in at 7 a.m. and work another 24 tomorrow. So.
Okay.
Wow.
Damn. Well, that's impressive.
Yeah, I was always told about those idle hands,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got plenty of stuff to keep you busy these days. Good luck with the poker, and I'm sure we'll be chatting every night here as we hopefully, like I said, first night we played together, you had position. Second night I had position. So.
How'd you wind up doing last night on the 25K night?
I think I might have min cashed. I can't remember. It's funny. There's 2 nights in a row I was playing you. One night I slow played kings and got busted, and the next night I slow played aces and got busted. And I think that might have been the same. I think I might have bubbled the final. No, the kings is where I bubbled. No, I don't remember. I guess it's a long answer, but I won a tournament last night actually. An 8K, $150 buy.
Oh yeah.
So that was good. And but before that, I haven't had a decent score in a few weeks there. So yeah, I was happy last night.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on, Daren. I hope we didn't.
I really appreciate y'all helping me out and looking over things for me and having me on your podcast.
Okay,
I really enjoy listening to it now. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. That was fun.
Give it to all the sick people in Georgia too, by the way, man. Oh, the heart medicine's good, but you know what could really help? Listening to Steve Barton. No, I'm just. I'm trying to think how we can make inroads into the medical community here, Steve. No, I think we're fighting an uphill battle there for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay, you guys both have a great day.
Okay, you do the same. And you can contact us on Twitter. You can hit me up at HUP Mike at Mike Snyderman. headsuppokerpodcast.blogspot.com for our blog, or email headsuppokerpodcast@gmail.com. And hit us up on Facebook, Heads Up Poker Podcast. You can hit me up for coaching if you're interested. Thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
I didn't want to just be a bodybuilding champion. I wanted to be the best bodybuilder of all times. Dig deep down and ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Not what, but who. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy. You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe after all. What is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? We have so many rules in life about everything. I say break the rules, not the law, but break the rules. I remember that after I was finished with my bodybuilding career, I wanted to get into acting. I wanted to be a star in films. Everyone had the same line that it can't be done. Just look at your body. You have this huge, monstrous body, overly developed, that doesn't fit into the movies. But, I didn't listen to all this. These were their rules. I was convinced I could do it. And then I got the big break in Conan the Barbarian. Trust yourself no matter what anyone else thinks. And there the director said if we wouldn't have Schwarzenegger, we would have to build one. Then when I did Terminator, I'll be back. One of the most famous lines in movie history, all because of my crazy accent. It just shows you never listen that you can't do something. Don't be afraid to fail. Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail. Don't be afraid of making decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear of failure, or you will never push yourself. You keep pushing because you believe in yourself and in your vision. And you know that it's the right thing to do. Success will come, so don't be afraid to fail. I mean, how many times have you heard that you can't do this, and you can't do that, and it's never been done before? So pay no attention to the people that say it can't be done. If I would have listened to the naysayers, I would still be in the Austrian Alps yodeling. I would never have come to America. I always listened to myself and said, yes, you can. You never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. Work your butt off. I always believed leaving no stone unturned. No pain, no gain. When you're out there partying, horsing around, someone out there at the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning. Just remember that. You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in the pocket.